In these testing times, where society teeters on the brink of decline, the virtue of strong fathers and noble men will serve as our only bulwark. Men who disavow the pernicious allure of perverse indulgence, men who hold aloft the compass of morality, are the architects who can restore the pillar of our great American society. We must confront the trappings of the cultural maelstrom, the tempting abyss of hood life, the futile club antics, and the superficiality of social media bravado. The deluding lure of transient validation through base expression of sexuality. We are called to rise against this mindless diversion, the diversions of TikTok, of Instagram, against these breeding grounds of aimless distractions and inconsequential pursuits. The echoes of the cultural misfits ring louder than ever before, yet these are not the valiant and striking, but the misled. Those plagued by lethargy and ignorance, those who haven't tasted the sweat of a hard day's labor or savored the fruits of an honest work's toil. As a society, we must cast aside these deceptive narratives and address the afflictions that threaten our moral fabric. We find ourselves confronted by the ugly face of hedonism, faced with dilemmas that highlight the depth of our societal denigration. Whimsical discussions on gender identification, indulgent parades, and the idolization of false deities are symptoms of a decaying society. These should not be our priorities. Instead, our focus should be directed towards surviving this impending moral drought. However, without strong paternal guidance, we will find ourselves hurtling towards the abyss of societal and spiritual decay. And disturbingly, we see this trajectory aligning with the doomed paths of Sodom and Gomorrah. The prospect of parading a golden symbol of debauchery down our street is not far off, unless we, as men, rise to reclaim our moral compass and confront such folly. Should we fail, divine intervention may be our last hope. But remember, biblical prophecy warns of Christ's return as a warrior king, a powerful response akin to dialing 911 in a domestic dispute, an act that often unfolds unforeseen calamity. We have grown ignorant. Our society starved of leaders adhering to any moral principle. Lost souls reject authority. They embrace sin, defined as a willful violation of God's divine law. This concept is seen across culture and history. It equates to the violation of societal norms, laws, or moral codes dating back to the collective sin of mankind, traced to the so-called mythical fall of man. Picture a man aimlessly floating downstream on a hot summer day, oblivious to the waterfall ahead. Warnings and life preservers are cast his way, but he dismisses them, relishing the ride towards his doom. This man's rejection stems from a love for his current state and a neglect of the looming danger. A similar pattern is observed in people's rejection of the salvation offered through Jesus Christ. They remain entranced by sin, denying the righteous path before them. The truth of sin runs deeper than mere actions. It's a matter of our desires. The root problem in our society extends beyond character flaws, lack of education, or poor anger management. It lies in the love of sin over God's holiness, a malady requiring more than therapy, education, or self-help. It requires a transformation of the heart, a rebirth that instills a thirst for righteousness. As Stoic philosophers, knights of old, a mountain-dwelling monk, and the apostles of yore, we too must reject the perversive sin propagated by modernity. We, as men of God, must lead the charge towards an era of moral righteousness, As torchbearers of morality, we hold the key to society's salvation. We must rise. We must reclaim our moral high ground, and we must guide society out of impending darkness into the light of moral righteousness. The bedrock of society is, and has always been, the character of good men. In an era where our culture has been sculpted by virtuous men, society was unshakable, built upon the firm rock of moral fortitude. However, the tides of time have eroded this foundation and replaced the rock with shifting sand, presided over by men of shadow rather than light. Let this be a clarion call that echoes across the landscape of our time, a call to restore the virtue of manhood and the integral role of the father. We witness the glorification of indulgence, vanity, and shallow entertainment, distractions that veer us from God's plan and into spiritual decline. The beacon of societal order is dimming, a reflection of the storm clouds of cultural decadence that darken our horizons. And as a society, we are dangerously close to the precipice of spiritual decline, a precipice resembling the devastation of Sodom and Gomorrah. Yet hope is not lost. The Bible warned us, "Upon this rock I will build my church." It implores us to return to our roles as virtuous men, guardians of virtue, and pillars of a society crying out for direction. Men, we must embrace the teachings of Stoicism, of the Knights, the silent wisdom of the monk. You must rediscover your spiritual dignity within you and take up the mantle of a righteous man in an unrighteous world. To all men listening, answer this call. Help me rebuild our society on the solid rock of righteousness rather than these shifting sands of vice. For it is upon us, men of courage, righteousness, and godly character, that society is built and sustained. Will you rise to the occasion? Thank you for listening.